Before I start this video, I'm going to issue a challenge. Today, I'm going to be talking about nuclear power. And last time I did that, I quickly found out that there's a significant contingency of people that have replaced normal life benchmarks like getting a wife or a girlfriend, maybe having kids, keeping a job, staying relatively fit, showering, etc., with solely defending the hypothetical scenario in which Australia develops nuclear power. Now, in this video, I might get some stuff wrong. You may hate everything I say, but as I've made clear time and again, I actually really care about you guys and I don't want to hurt you, so my heartfelt request that I dress up as a challenge, because most of you are such game addicts, everything has to be gamified. It's kind of the same challenge I gave Drew Pavlou, which he failed immediately. Don't respond, please. Try to beat Drew, no matter how compelled you feel to correct me or defend nuclear power, just for one video, for your own good. Let it go. Go outside, go for a walk, do some exercise. Don't watch this video. It's just going to ruin your perfect day of scrolling our destiny. And if this plea doesn't work, remember, it's opposite day. So any dislike or comment you leave saying I'm wrong means I'm right. But that doesn't count for likes and comments saying I'm right because it's opposite day. And that statement's now opposite. And any attempt to debunk that logic is an admission that you're gay. That's right. Who's the real king of debate? This comment section ain't a marketplace of ideas. It's a supermarket at the beginning of COVID. There's only one roll of toilet paper left and it's mine. Go on, scramble for that one roll of toilet paper. Without it, without me, you're going to be covered in shit forever. So, now that you know to shut the fuck up, let's begin. Why nuclear power is bad, using scenes from The Simpsons as proof. Oh, fuck, so dangerous. Oh, why would you leave that there? Why, that fish has 3 eyes. We don't want that in Australia. Triggered nuke Simpsons? Well, I'm convinced. But unfortunately, Peter Dutton, the leader of Australia's opposition party, isn't. And he's campaigning on bringing nuclear power to Australia. To be honest, I think he's drastically overestimated the Fedora vote. Usually, I think the coalition are pretty good at culture wars and the politics of deceit, effectively messaging on non-issues, making issues out of nothing, or pretending that their position is the opposite of what they're actually doing. Usually, with a great deal of help from the media, but also helped with Labor's single white female arc of imitating the failing US Democrats. You know how, somehow, the coalition looks like the party that's tough on immigration whilst letting in more immigrants than Labor did. And they also look like they're the better economic managers despite being quantifiably worse on every metric. They also played the voice referendum amazingly. But despite what the comment section of this video might look like, I do think Dutton overplayed his hand with this nuclear wedge, and the smarter thing to do would have been to be more honest and just continued on saying that fossil fuels are awesome without this smokescreen. He should have picked a different hyper-online topic to bring in the boys, like railing against seed oils.
I don't have anything against fast food. I'm against food that has seed oils. When I was a kid, McDonald's was made with tallow fat. That was good for you. Your body needs that. It makes you healthy. Why aren't we making it with tallow fat again?
Isn't that sick? I am so happy that McDonald's cooking oil is now a legitimate political issue in the US. I mean, it's far more consequential than Dutton's nuclear policy. Because here's where I'm going to ruin your day. Jeez, I've been doing that a lot recently, hey. It's not going to happen. The coalition's whole nuclear policy is just a delaying tactic backed by the fossil fuel industry, who, along with Dutton, I'm guessing after the 2019 bushfires, realised that just being all mine, baby, mine wasn't as palatable as it once was, and they needed a reason to keep coal in the grid for as long as possible while seeming like they were doing something about climate change. And having the government have a decade-long Twitch debate about nuclear power seems to be their best tactic, which could be the case. But the problem is Labor's Minister for Climate Change and Energy, Chris Bowen, is a way better debate lord than the Liberal Shadow Minister Ted O'Brien. Chris Bowen is like if the intellect and charisma of Destiny had a baby with the humility and relatability of Vorsh. I'm telling you, he's that good. And Ted O'Brien, fuck. I mean, if Labor's single white femaling the Democrats, how the fuck does ScoMo feel about Ted O'Brien? It's uncanny. Imagine looking at ScoMo and deciding, that's who I want to look like. Awful starting place for the Libs, because they're going to need to do a lot of convincing, as the polls show that it's not a particularly popular policy. Even a lot of the Spurgs that like the idea of nuclear power, they're not too keen on living near a reactor. And chicks fucking hate nuclear power. If the Libs really wanted to sell this policy, they'd need a better shadow minister to win the girls over, such as Luigi Mangione. I mean, at least get Ted O'Brien to shoot a healthcare exec so he's got something to work with. At the moment, I don't think this creep is going to be able to successfully make the argument that the CSIRO and IEMO are both wrong when their recent Gen Cost report found that nuclear is by far the most expensive form of energy and renewables are by far the cheapest. That is a tough case to argue, especially when the man arguing it is some middle manager from Ronald McDonald House Charity and up against I don't know how many people are at the CSIRO and IEMO. Normally I'd say the whole trust the experts thing is lame and it's much more spiritually fulfilling to just go off gut instinct, but with nuclear in particular, I think it's a good idea to trust the experts. Especially when the Liberals are proposing we spend a third of a taxpayer $1 trillion for 7 nuclear plants. And again, all the more reason for Dutton to have found a better spurgy wedge. Put tallow back in the French fries. At least then Ted's somewhat qualified to talk about it. And not just because he worked there, but look at him! That's a man fucked up on seed oils if I ever saw one! Must be the seed oils that are creating a homogenised type of 50-something-year-old middle manager phenotype. And this whole debate framing isn't a joke either. Home brand Howard and Bowen, they actually had a debate on the ABC 7:30 report. Fuck! Even the ABC knows that this is a debate-lord topic. Safe to say, Chris Bowen came armed with fact and logic. Watch this.
Idina Menzel was a much less interesting Elphaba than Cynthia Erivo's Elphaba. And Cynthia Erivo has pipes on her. I mean, she can really, really belt. She can really sing.
Oh, sorry, wrong video. But honestly, still a better wedge issue for Dutton to campaign on.
I asked there whether or not CSIRO has the expertise. I know that you think CSIRO do, but what CSIRO does, what is your response to Gen Cost today and that finding on nuclear?
Well, my response, Sarah, is that I don't believe I know better than the CSIRO, Australia's premier scientific agency, and AEMO, who runs our grid. Ted thinks he does know better. That's the key difference between us. And I don't agree that the CSIRO is not qualified. They are one of the world's most respected scientific organisations. And, you know, when they brought their report out last year, Ted, as is his perfect right, went to them and said, I think you've got it wrong about how long nuclear reactors last and how often they're used, their capacity factor. And the CSIRO and AEMO, to their credit, have listened to Ted, run the numbers on his suggestions and found that his criticisms have no basis in evidence and it doesn't change the costs.
Such an unfair advantage. Bowen has all the evidence on his side, and poor Ted has to think of an argument as to why his gut is right and the CSIRO are wrong. What's he going to come up with?
You'll see the modelling over the next week from the coalition. And the capital costs of the CSIRO, I'm saying, is reasonable. Okay. But
and that's
what
the
you
cost
won't see
to build nuclear reactors.
Next of a kind, the modern larger plants. What is different from the CSIRO is, as they themselves say, they do not model the total system cost. Our focus as a coalition is on getting prices down. You must calculate the total system cost because that's what hits your bill at home. And for everyone who is at home, Chris can say all he likes, I can say all I like, but they can't deny their own lived experience. Power bills now in Australia are among the highest in the world.
Oh, okay. Don't trust the CSIRO's levelised cost of electricity modelling. Trust the Liberal Party's analysis that wasn't even released at the time of this debate, that they just released on a Friday in mid-December. Sure, that was a coincidence. Modelling that took about a quarter of a day to be completely debunked? Just put aside your thoughts on nuclear power for a second. Let's just all agree that if we're going to go down that path, we can't be led by a political party that can't do basic maths. According to economist Stephen Hamilton, go fat Hitler, most of the savings that nuclear apparently adds from the Liberals' system cost analysis are actually just from slowing the renewables transition down and keeping coal power plants on, that we've already paid for, going for longer. That's why he wants system cost analysis, so he can hide the real cost of nuclear with the sunken cost of coal. It's almost like this is just a way to put coal on life support for the next 25 years. Again, all the more reason I'd respect these guys more if they just said, let's keep coal. So much less nerdy and gay and cheaper than nuclear. Then Ted O'Brien goes on to talk about lived experience and high power bills. Okay, at least he's taken some inspiration from Luigi Mangione on something.
Completely out of touch and an insult to the intelligence of the American people and lived experience.
still, not great when you have to resort to the same argument that Hassan Minhaj used to justify inserting himself into fake heroic situations as part of his stand-up. Because here's another issue with the modelling, again pointed out by Hamilton. It assumes nuclear power will have an incredibly high capacity factor of 90%, which is just a way of basically saying that the proportion of energy nuclear will generate in relation to the maximum that it possibly could, it kind of needs to be this high in their modelling to justify the huge upfront costs. But the problem is their modelling assumes nuclear will produce 38% of Australia's energy and renewables 54%, with wind and solar having a capacity factor of 36 and 26%. And the modelling does not take into account the amount of extra storage infrastructure needed to keep nuclear and renewables going at that high of a rate. In other words, it's shit modelling, based off pretending large parts of reality aren't real, as you'd expect from the coalition, of course. And retrospectively, it makes O'Brien's point about the system cost analysis even dumber. Anyway, listen to this.
At the moment, renewable investment dwarfs nuclear investment by 27 times. So the world is investing 27 times more in solar and wind and renewables than in nuclear. We're adding more solar and wind capacity every couple of weeks than is added in nuclear capacity all year. So the direction of travel around the world is very, very clear. And also when you look at international experience, there's no nuclear reactors under construction in the United States. The one that was closest, which Ted's talked about a lot, NuScale, was cancelled last year because of a 70% cost blowout. There is one in the United Kingdom, Hinkley C, which is running about 12 years late and is costing $92 billion Australian. 92 billion. Now, I don't believe that Australia should go down that road. I believe in an Australian energy system for Australian circumstances designed by Australian experts.
Yeah, energy is expensive right now, but that's not because of renewables. It's because everything's expensive everywhere in the world, and that's not going to be sorted by putting Reddit in charge of the grid. It most certainly won't be sorted by this man and a party whose energy policy is just karma fishing. It's been found over and over again. Renewables are the cheapest. Australia is hitting record high levels of renewable generation. The government are making big investments in renewables, which will not only lower prices but create jobs and make sure that we stay on track to meet our emissions targets, blah, 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 blah. You've heard the pitch a million times, but it's happening. And even if you like nuclear, it's very clear from the Libs' own modelling that if Dutton won, it's not going to happen. He's not serious. So just appreciate that we have a serious government in power right now that's not turning something as important as energy and climate change into a 10-minute actually video essay. You leave that to the experts. But this whole nuclear debate is just a tactic to create market uncertainty and keep fossil fuels on life support for as long as possible. But it's so fucking dumb. Even most of the big business stakeholders that are completely and utterly existentially tethered to coal continuing on, who usually support the Libs, are shitting on Dutton's plan. Look, even the Australians having a go. Dutton, if you can't read the room, at least read the free paper in the room. And even if you don't agree with everything I said, grow up, be honest with yourself. You're not smart enough to work at a nuclear power plant anyway. But I am. Come at me honest! Ooh, Christmas came early this year. You know why? Because we got an exclusive leak of Gina Reinhardt's Christmas party. It is way more insane than you imagine. We did a bit of it on stream last night. We're doing the rest tonight at 6:30. Oh my God, there is a bunch of stuff there that they don't want out to the public. So we're putting it out to the public, naturally.